Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Good afternoon. I would like to welcome all of you to this side event on adaptation and with co-mitigation benefits in the Red Sea and Gulf of Aden. As you know, the nature-based solutions for climate change is receiving great attention because of its cost effectiveness, sustainability, easy to apply, and also the several co-benefits associated with the nature-based adaptation. For example, it will protect the biodiversity, it will have the mitigation also benefits, it will capture and store the carbon. Besides that, it was good for fisheries, it will improve the fishery stock. So all of these co-benefits, they are associated with the nature-based solutions as compared with the, for example, the engineering options or what is called gray options. So this is why we are going towards the nature-based solutions. Now, how is this done? As you know, all what we need is to conserve the marine environment. We have to harnessing the surfaces of the marine environment. We need to establish more protected areas. We need to reduce the stressors, and this is very important. If you reduce the stressors from pollution, from dredging, from other activities, you will improve the vulnerability or resilience. You will improve the resilience of the system against the impact of climate change. Now, in our region, in Persica region, as you know, the Red Sea and Gulf of Aden is considered rich with its habitat and marine life. We have mangrove, we have seagrass, we have very good coral reefs. Now, all of these, they make the option of nature-based adaptation is very valuable for us. And this is why we selected this to have it as a discussion for this side event. Now, in this side event, we are going to introduce to you the experience gained by Persica. We have 3 lectures from Persica. It will demonstrate the activities related to adaptation with the co-mitigation benefits in our region. And also we will have 3 speakers from member states, from Saudi Arabia, from Djibouti, and from Egypt. They will also address their experience and they will share their practice with us on activities they conducted at national level. I would like to welcome you all. Now, by the end of this speakers, as I said, we have 6 speakers in total, 3 from Persica and 3 from member state. We are going to have 3 interventions from our honorable guests here, Dr. Leah Sigart. She is the practice manager, environmental and natural resources and blue economy, Middle East and North Africa region from the World Bank. She will have intervention. And also Dr. Ali Abu Sinna, who he is the head of the Egyptian environment and natural resources. He will also join us in a few minutes. He will have intervention. And finally, we have intervention from Dr. Hanafi, Dr. Muhammad Hanafi. He is from Suez Canal University. He is a very well known scientist in our region. And we are happy to have all of you here. So let me not take much time, and we will start with our first presentation. We'll start with Dr. Ahmed Khalil. Dr. Ahmed Khalil is the climate change strategy and effort. He will talk about climate change strategy and effort in the Persica region. And he is responsible for the marine life and climate change in Persica, and he is also the director of the project section. So I will give the floor now to Dr. Ahmed. Please start. Now every speaker will have 10 minutes, okay, to deliver his speech. Okay, please start, Dr. Ahmed.
Thank you, Professor Ziad. Actually, I'm very pleased here to share this Persiga, the experience of Persiga strategy and efforts addressing climate change adaptations with with mitigation co-benefits in the Red Sea and Gulf of Aden in collaboration with Persiga member states and Persiga partners in the region. Firstly, the Red Sea and Gulf of Aden region is peculiar. It has distinct characteristics that favors coral reef and marine biodiversity. But the Gulf of Aden, on the other hand, is also a very rich water body with high primary production and fishery production. So the region in generally supports unique biodiversity, high endemism, and has high potential for ecosystem-based or marine ecosystem-based adaptations and mitigation solutions, as also mentioned by Professor Ziad. Persiga is a regional organization hosted by Saudi Arabia and membered by 7 member states, jointly working under the legal framework of Jeddah Convention, Regional Action Plan, and we have also 5 protocols. So Persiga already implement a regional program components with many components covering capacity building, fishery, agriculture, biodiversity, protected areas, environmental monitoring, and also controlling pollution from sea-based and land-based, and climate, environmental awareness and climate change. Persiga also implemented and still implement regional projects in collaboration with the EF, international partner agencies, and with the World Bank, and national on-ground projects, many national on-ground projects in the member states. So basically, in principle, Persiga programs and projects represent a good basis for the climate change program strategy. So the strategic directions followed by Persiga was to mainstream climate change issues in existing programs and projects. For example, capacity building on climate change issues, and including vulnerability assessments and monitoring of climate change parameters in the environmental monitoring programs of seawater and key habitats carried out by Persiga, and also implement initiatives addressing ecosystem-based adaptation and mitigation solutions based on the rich coral reefs and blue carbon habitats in the region, and also working on strengthening resilience by reducing multiple local stressors from pollution and overfishing in the region, and other anthropogenic impacts through programs that specialize in these aspects, and also including awareness and education materials on climate change issues, adaptations, and mitigations, especially for marine environment in our environmental awareness program. For example, in the Persiga capacity building and regional coordination workshops program, Persiga has included several regional and national workshops, more than 20 regional and national workshops in the past 7 to 10 years. And this covered various aspects of climate issues, including vulnerability assessment, adaptation, funding, adaptation, system-based adaptation, and mitigation options, monitoring sea level rise assessments, and also monitoring and assessments of ocean acidification, as well as other aspects concerning like economic implications of climate change impacts on marine environment, and blue carbon policies and management in the region. The Persiga member states has also prominently considered marine ecosystem-based adaptation and mitigation in their first submitted NDCs after Paris Convention, and this almost all Persiga member states has included adaptations based on marine environment in their NDCs, and Saudi Arabia has also included mitigation measures based on blue carbon, and this has been further consolidated in the updated NDCs by regional and national initiatives in the region. Some other aspects on building resilience by reducing multiple stressors from pollution and fisheries. These are undertaken by the pollution, control of pollution from sea-based activities and control of pollution from land-based activities. These two programs are run by Bersiga, and they have frameworks, regional protocols, and regional plans, action plans has been developed, and also Bersiga has Bersiga Marsiga Center, which provide regional coordination and capacity building workshops in contingency planning, pollution response in collaboration with IMO, which is based in Hurghada in Egypt. And in sustainable fisheries and aquaculture, also Bersiga has a special program and now developing a regional protocol concerning collaboration in management of sustainable fisheries and aquaculture. And we have just also started a regional project with, supported by the World Bank, collaboration with the World Bank, focusing on sustainable development of fisheries and aquaculture in the region. Also, in the area of strengthening ecosystem monitoring, protection, and restoration effort, several aspects of development has been mainstreamed in our program, strengthening monitoring capacities and including climate change issues in our standard survey methods for key habitats and species, and providing technical assistance for sustainable national programs, and also including new indicators in our state of marine environment process, assessment process related to climate change impacts on ecosystem protection and restoration. Bersiga has already specific regional action plans for conservation of coral reefs, mangroves, and sea grass, and the MBA network coverage and management effectiveness. Also, we have some capacity building and projects in this regard, which will be covered by my colleague, Dr. Maher, in the next presentation. Also, Bersiga developed technical guidelines on-ground restoration projects for mangroves and coral reefs, and has also implemented or organized training and coordination workshops for inclusion of coastal and marine based solutions in the NDCs of the member states in the region. Bersiga had implemented in initiative on blue carbon in the region, addressing regional and national policies, assessments, and capacity building workshops on blue carbon, and also implemented on-ground projects of restoration in the member states, and has also a special awareness and outreach materials, including video films, leaflets, posters, and also assessments on blue carbon resources in the region. Concerning the regional projects, Bersiga has also worked with partners in addressing activities addressing climate change, building resilience. For example, the strategic ecosystem management project in the Red Sea and Gulf of Aden, implemented in collaboration with the World Bank in the region during 2014 to 2019, has worked on MBA, improving MBA management, effective support, ecosystem resilience, and also on demonstrating alternative livelihood options based on sustainable fishery, ecotourism, and solar energy solutions in selected pilot sites in the region, including also community-based activities. For future projects, we have now two projects, two regional projects. One is sustainable fishery development in the Red Sea and Gulf of Aden, S-Fish projects in collaboration with the World Bank, and this work to strengthen regional mechanism for sustainable fishery and aquaculture development, which also target also fisheries ready climate change and building resilience to climate change, fishery and agriculture sector. Another project is the inclusive approach for harnessing ecosystem services and sustainable blue economy in the Red Sea and Gulf of Aden region is implemented, supported by GF, and will be implemented in 2023 to 2027. And this project support transition to sustainable blue economy, which also consider climate change measures and climate change adaptation and mitigation in the development of blue economy sectors. And it will also build knowledge management for sustainable blue economy and communication and monitoring. So in conclusion, the Red Sea and Gulf of Aden region has high potential for coastal marine ecosystem and nature-based solutions based on the marine ecosystems. Bersiga regional efforts on ecosystem and nature-based solutions has built on the existing programs and projects of Bersiga, and also synergy with several national and regional initiatives. And the coastal marine and marine climate actions are well included or well considered in the nationally determined contributions of Bersiga member states, which provide also for effective coordination and collaboration at regional level, addressing ecosystem-based adaptation with co-mitigation benefits in the Red Sea and Gulf of Aden region. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Ahmed. Our second speaker is Dr. Abdullah Al-Raddadi. Dr. Abdullah Al-Raddadi is the advisor for sustainability and climate change deputyship from the Ministry of Energy, Saudi Arabia, and he will be talking about Green Saudi Arabia and Green Middle East initiatives.
Assalamu alaikum. Good evening, everyone. As Dr. Ziad introduced me, I'm Abdullah Al-Raddadi. I work with the Ministry of Energy, the Deputy of Climate Change. I would like to start by thanking Bersiga for arranging this event. It's an honor to be a speaker here. COP27 is an event bringing nations from around the world together under one roof to advance global climate ambition by inspiring joint activities at the local, regional, and international level. Along with the COP, Sharm el-Sheikh also hosted the Saudi Green Initiative and the Middle East Green Initiative just last week. These initiatives are natural extensions of the Saudi Vision 2030, as it works on including all segments of society and in drawing green future by activating the role of public and private sector and enabling citizens to contribute to achieving ambitions on the national level. This evening, I'm going to shed the light on both the Saudi and Middle East Green Initiative, which were launched last year in 2021 by His Royal Highness the Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. I will start with the SGI, the Saudi Green Initiative, which is an ambitious national initiative for Saudi Arabia. This is only on the local national level, which aims to improve the quality of life and protect future generations. The Kingdom has taken decisive steps toward more sustainable future. This initiative unites environmental protection, energy transition, and sustainability programs within the Kingdom with the overarching aim of offsetting and reducing emissions, increasing the Kingdom's use of clean energy, and addressing climate change. The SCI has three main targets. The first one is to reduce 287 million tons of CO2 equivalents of greenhouse gas emissions. The second one is to plant 10 billion trees, and the third one, which is more related to this session is to raise the level of protected land and sea in Saudi Arabia to 30%. By working in partnership with internationally leading biodiversity protection organizations, this ambition target will ensure the abundant wildlife, the pristine landscape will continue to define the natural ecosystem in the kingdom. And I was happy to hear from the previous speaker that there is actually alignment between Persiga and other nations and other domestic and regional nations that are in line with the Saudi Green Initiative as well as the Middle East Green Initiative. The SCI will achieve the target to protect 30% of the land and sea through phased establishment of protected areas. At present, dozens of initiatives run by government entities, NGOs, and the private sector organization are working all toward this goal. The protected area covers a variety of geographies, including desert, forests, mountains, and coastal areas. Currently, this initiative, or this program, the Saudi Green Initiative, the SCI, has more than 60 initiatives to help reach the 3 targets under the SCI to achieve long-lasting positive change. Initiatives range from afforestation and biodiversity to emission reductions and establishing new protected areas. Under the SCI, Saudi Arabia is delivering again its own inspirations to create a greener future for all and putting action and investments behind the country's commitment to sustainable development. So far, the total amount of investment in the SCI is around 700 billion Saudi riyal. As part of the SCI, various entities and organizations across Saudi Arabia help to scale up national climate action and create new initiatives. The SCI efforts engage stakeholders across the private sector, and this is very crucial in order to meet the climate goals. Those stakeholders are carefully selected to ensure their goals and ambition align with the level of the ambition of the Saudi Green Initiative. Example of those initiatives, as some of you may heard, is the energy mix, which is to have 50% of the energy mix in Saudi Arabia renewable and the other 50% in gas. This is by 2030. Another initiative is the liquid displacement, where the kingdom is going to displace 1 million barrel of liquid fuel by 2030, and this is a reduction of 95% from current status. I'm not going through the other initiatives, there's too many of them, but I'm going to move to the MGI now, which is the first of its kind, regional-led alliances. The MGI works to help to overcome climate challenge through amplified and enhanced regional collaboration. It provides ambitious and clearly defined roadmap for regional climate actions, ensuring to coordinate between localized and internationally based entities to the specific way. The goal behind it is to have a collaboration, to have the same goal, and this goal is aligned between all entities. By increasing this regional collaboration and creating the infrastructure needed to reduce the emission and protect the environment, the Middle East Green Initiative can amplify the impact of the global fight against climate change. Now, those countries covered by the MGI are some of the hottest and driest on Earth, areas that already seeing the impact of climate change through rising temperature and extreme weather events. This particular set of circumstances requires a specific and regionally led approach. No country can work toward solving this issue on its own. Saudi Arabia will do its part as a G20 economy and a significant contributor to the climate action globally, to make sure that the climate solutions needed in the Middle East in particular, and the North Africa, of course, are considered, those solutions needed are considered in the global scale. Like the SCI, the Middle East Green Initiative had targets. Precisely, it has 2 targets. The first one is to plant 40 billion trees across the Middle East, equivalent to 5% of the global afforestation target, and restoring an area of equivalent of 200 million hectares of degraded land. Achieving this target will help to generate new employment opportunities and strengthen the resilience of remote communities. In addition, the trees will provide numerous other benefits, such as stabilizing soil, protecting against flood and dust storms, and helping reduce CO2 emissions by 2.5% of the global level. The second target of the MGI is support the region to reduce and eliminate emissions equivalent to 670 million tons annually. Saudi Arabia aims to bring together regional stakeholders to achieve more than 60% reduction of emissions from regional hydrocarbon production. To achieve this, the MGI will facilitate collaboration on the highest level of government to enable businesses and civil society to scale up carbon capture, invest in the green economy, and encourage innovation and renewables. Several initiatives were launched during this summit. One of them was the CCE Regional Collaboration. It's a platform that's already online now. The other one is the CCE Fund, which is a regional fund directed toward investing in clean technology such as CCUS, hydrogen, and nature-based solutions. Ladies and gentlemen, I would encourage you to visit our exhibit here in Sharm el-Sheikh, which we had during this CUP, where you can see every single initiative of the 60s. You can see illustrations of those initiatives. You can see people and discuss what's happening on the ground with people who actually work there. So I highly encourage you to go there and visit the summit. It's just a 5-minute drive from here. Again, I thank Persiga for this invitation, and I hope a success for this event. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Salam wa rahmatullah. Thank you very much, Dr. Abdullah. Very informative presentation. And our next speaker is Dr. Maher Amr. Dr. Maher is the coordinator for MPA Network and Biodiversity in Persiga. And he will be talking about the role of regional MPA's network in climate change adaptation and mitigation. So please, floor is yours.
Thank you. Hi everyone. This talk I will throw some light on Persica intervention related and the activities related to marine protected areas, and also we will know how will manage marine protected area help people and marine ecosystem for adapting climate change threats like sea level rise, intensification of storms, shifting in species distribution, decline in secondary productivity, and the cumulative effect and synergy. And also we'll explore the role of managed marine, coastal marine ecosystem in climate change mitigation by carbon sequestration and storage. Okay, the benefit of marine protected area is wide. It support and improve ecosystem function, maintain and re-establish ecological structure, functions, and the processes that support economic and social uses and values, mitigate the effect of climate variability and change, contribute toward climate change adaptation by protecting the coastal ecosystem, and they protect essential ecosystem services. From this point, Persica member state in 2005 signing a protocol concerning the conservation of biological diversity and the establishment of marine protected area in the Red Sea and Gulf Aden. The objective of this protocol is capacity building in all aspects of planning and management, sustainable uses of the marine resources occurred in the region, and engage the stakeholders in all processes of management and conservation, all prime examples of biodiversity, and enhance the public awareness of the biodiversity and the resources, and also make some research activities. After this protocol, Berska member state formed a network composed of 12 MPAs distributed along all countries in the region and composed of all important and critical sites in the region. But now we acknowledge that all MPAs inside Persica region, Berska member state, are within the network. To implement this protocol, Persica made many interventions and activities. Firstly, Persica and the member state surveyed the all marine ecosystem in the region and the important site and prepare a regional master plan of the network or master plan. This master plan of the network based on site-specific master plan and also prepare site-specific management plan for site and review, update this management plan and review it for about 5 years. Recently, Persica prepared an integrated management plan for a site in Sudan that nominated by UNESCO as a World National Heritage Site under the theme of man and the biosphere. In order to know how do we want to be and whether this management plan has achieved their objective, Persica annually evaluate the management effectiveness of the network. The management effectiveness is the assessment of how well protected areas are being managed. This process, we achieved this process by the World Bank scorecard for management effectiveness tracking tool methods, and we find that there is an improvement of the objectives of the network, but more improvement occurred at Persica that has many intervention and activities. But some objectives are still now not satisfactory or insufficient for the management. Persica also to prepare and to review the management effectiveness of the network, support the MPA's network with management tools and implement some on-ground approaching. The management tools, we support the MPAs in most countries with surveying equipment, diving set, camera, GPS, and boots for patrolling, control, and surveillance, glass boots for the locals inside the MPAs, outreach materials, and training the managers. Since 2005, we trained about 1,700 of managers and officials inside Persica region, and also installed some solar units in the offices of the MPAs, of school, solar units in the school and the hospital inside the MPAs, and also we installed centralized solar planet in some villages inside the MPAs. Of the ground activities that we implement in Persica MPAs, we're installing mooring buoys in some submerged reef to protect this reef from human activities and increasing their resilience. So we installed about 50 mooring buoys in the coastal reef, submerged reef in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia, and about 20 mooring buoys in the Aqaba Marine Park in Jordan. Also some on-ground project inside the MPAs, we restore and rehabilitate some mangrove stands in MPA in Djibouti. Well, so the role of marine protected area of Persica for adaptation and mitigation of climate change will effectively, we can see that will effectively managed MPAs help the marine ecosystem and the people to adapt So for some issue from climate change, like civil rights, rough sea condition and storms, shift in species distribution, and decline of secondary productivity, and the synergism between human activities and the climate change. Regarding to the sea level rise, the intake and the well-connected wetland, coastal wetland, and the mudflat and the biogenic reefs offer protection against climate change, against sea level rise, and the promoting ecosystem-based adaptation to safeguard people, infrastructure, and the property against adverse climate change threats. MBAs protect these coastal ecosystems from these resources, such as protecting them from overharvesting, dredging, and coastal development, helping safeguard their function as a coastal defenses. All these coastal wetland increase in elevation through time, so adapt to sea level rise. Regarding to the intensification of storms and rough sea conditions, well-protected coastal ecosystem reduce risks from storms and coastal flooding. Large wetland with dense vegetation stabilize shorelines, attenuate with energy, and accumulate sediment more effective than the degraded wetland. Regarding the shift distribution, the increasing in surface temperature and the changing in salinity and density profile, the global main current regime changed, and this is affect the distribution of species. A regional MBA's network provide stepping stones for dispersal and considered as a safe landing zone for species to colonize, and the refuge for that species unable to move. Also, MBAs increase the genetic diversity inside the MBAs that promoting adaptability and resilience. According to the primary and the secondary productivity decline as effect of climate change, effectively managed MBAs play important role for fisheries management, rebuilding exploited stocks and degraded habitats by protecting spawning, nursery, and feeding grounds. And regarding to the synergy and the synchronization of climate change with the anthropogenic effectiveness, the coastal and the marine ecosystem already under multiple anthropogenic stresses besides the impact of climate change. There is a synergy between anthropogenic effect and the climate change. Well-managed MBAs limiting direct anthropogenic stresses thus enable species to recover, reproduce, and grow to be more resilient to climate change. Regarding to the mitigation of climate change of the marine ecosystem, or coastal marine ecosystem to climate change by sinking carbon, coastal wetlands store organic carbon in sediment for millennia. The three coastal ecosystems, mangrove, seagrass, and salt marshes and wetland, spatially linking intertidal habitats with an unvegetated mudflat and sandbars habitat that may sink large amount of organic carbon. MBAs are not only protecting this habitat, but they maintain and enhance these spatially connected ecosystems. In conclusion, we can report that MBAs network are a viable low technology, cost-effective adaptive strategy will yield multiple co-benefits from national, regional, and the global scales. The establishment of extensive MBA's network can help mitigate climate change through the multiplication of biological responses to protection. And finally, the role of MBA's network and the role of Persica MBA's network in protection of coastal habitat often offers a more cost-effective solution than habitat restoration or the engineering solution. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Maher. Our next speaker is Dr. Muhammad Ismail. He is Persica Ecosystem Evaluation and Sensitive Habitat Coordinator, and he will be talking about regional efforts for conservation and resilience of coral reefs. So the floor is yours, Doctor.
Thank you very much, and thank you for attending so late. I have two good news for you. First of all, I don't have a presentation. Secondly, there is food and drinks outside. Okay? So hopefully you're cheered out now. I'm going to talk about coral reef, but allow me to play a very short video, and then I will continue to talk about what Persica have been doing recently in terms of the conservation of coral reef, okay? Sorry, technical issue like usual.
Climate change, global warming, coral bleaching, raising sea level, food shortage, loss of biodiversity. The role of science is to bring us closer to reality, but sometimes reality is so dark and depressing. Are we throwing the towel on climate change? Is this the message we are sending to our new generations? The message should change. The message should be a message of hope. Hope that both humans and corals will survive climate change. The Red Sea is a sea of hope. The Red Sea is offering hope for all coral reefs across the universe. Research showed that Red Sea corals are supercorals. Red Sea corals are resilient to climate change. Hope is not far away. Hope is here in the Red Sea. The Regional Organization for the Conservation of the Red Sea and Gulf of Aden is working with its member states not only to protect our valuable coral reef resources, but to restore its habitat and making sure our coral reef of the Red Sea and Gulf of Aden will be there for generations to come.
Thank you. I'm going to talk about research first. As research in Egypt and other places around the Red Sea coast in Saudi Arabia and other places internationally have actually showed that coral reefs of the Red Sea and Gulf of Aden are very resilient to climate change, or to rise of sea temperature at least. These corals have survived events of mass bleaching. It does not offer hope only for the Red Sea, it offers hope for the rest of the world. That gives a huge importance for the coral reef in the Red Sea. It's not only important for the region, not only important for our member states, it will have a global importance for everywhere else. Therefore, the conservation and our efforts to protect corals in the Red Sea is not only on a regional level, but also on a global level. We've been working in different projects. I mean, we have been in the building capacity program. We have been building capacity for the member states on how to create sensitivity maps for coral reef, how to conserve coral reef. We've been offering programs for valuation of natural resources, which is a very important thing that we've been doing at Persica recently, because you cannot protect your resources unless you have a value for these resources. And this value must have an economic impact. So the Minister of Economics and Finance will understand that these coral reefs are not only pretty, but they have a financial value. They have an importance that will need to be protected. We have a new project that will offer also restoration projects for damaged areas, for areas that were impacted by human impact, that Persica will actually help in the restoration projects of these natural habitat. Thank you so much, and I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Muhammad. And our next speaker is Professor Muhammad Zahran. Dr. Muhammad is Dr. Muhammad is the president of the National Authority for Remote Sensing and Science in Egypt. Dr. Muhammad will be addressing the marine ecosystem-based adaptation and mitigation in Egypt. So the floor is yours, Dr. Muhammad.
Thank you, Chairman, for your good presentation for myself. I am so happy to present this lecture for you, Climate Change and Coastal Ecosystem Adaptation in Egypt Case Studies. Climate change in Egypt could be, negative impacts could be recognized in 7 factors like sea level rise, salt water intrusion, drought, flash floods, water scarcity, heat waves, and cold waves. Climate change, as you see in this picture, Egypt has in the north coast about 1,500 kilometers and the east about 1,700 kilometers. And both has negative impact if the sea rise level is get high, and could has many side effects on Egyptian coasts by the impact of climate change. And of course, this climate change impacts could be affect the Egyptian country direct or indirect, as in heat waves, and this will affect health conditions, food security and energy consumption, tourism and infrastructure. And of course, Nile flow fluctuation will affect health condition and food security. And sea level rise, of course, will affect the migration of the Bedouin peoples live in the north and east of Egypt. Egypt put a plan for adaptation, and this plan consists of 6 sequential steps. First of all, we have to address the climate change risk and for mid and long term, and then we have to build the policy and the capacity building efforts for the Egyptian. After that, we have to decrease the climate change side effect by improving institutional and technical capacity of climate change adaptation planning. After that, we have to integrate the climate change adaptation into national and sectoral planning and budgeting. And at last, of course, we have to catalyze investment in climate change adaptation. If we focus on the effect of climate change on coastal zones, we have 3 targets. We have to reduce climate change associated risks and disasters. And of course, we have to capacity building of the Egyptian society and adapt to climate change and associated risk and disaster also. And we have to enhance national and regional partnership in managing crisis and disaster related to climate change and the reduction of associated risk. NARS use the satellite images for remote sensing to monitor the water level in the Mediterranean and Red Sea by using a high-resolution spatial satellite images captures at associated time interval. And on the other hand, it is also possible to study and calculate the rate of beach retreat and quantitative estimation of the eroded area of the beaches. In the water resources and irrigation, we have 3 targets also. We have to increase investment in the modern irrigation system. We have to cooperate with Nile Basin countries to reduce the water evaporation and increase river capacity. And we have to develop national policies to encourage citizens on water use rationalization. Egyptian government take decision to make jump for all the line canals and the drains in Egypt, and this will reduce the water leak, and of course we will keep the water, which is very expensive nowadays. In NARS, we have developed a smart system based on artificial intelligence and Internet of Things to monitor the water discharge from the drilled wells and apply the Egyptian regulation or contract between the customer and the governmental or service provider. This system is tested in high-level authority in Egypt and approved to be applied in at least 52,000 drilled well in Egypt. On the other hand, Egypt take care for maybe overflow from high dam coming from Nile because of climate change, and the state has taken a particular measurement and deal with the possible increase of Nile waters affiliated by climate change, and we prepare Toshka, and now we have at least 5 artificial lakes in Toshka to be as a store of water reservoir. In the agriculture sector, we have also 5 pillars. We have to build an effective institutional system to manage climate change associated crisis and disaster at the national level, and we have to activate generic diversity of plant species with maximum productivity. And I could confirm here that Egypt includes some crops we have at least 22 productivity, or maybe you can say we can duplicate the productivity of crops on some plants in Egypt. And of course, we have to achieve biological diversity at all livestock, fishery, and popularity elements to protect them and ensure food security. And as adaptation of Egyptian government, we do increase the agriculture area by using the smart tools for irrigation system like pivot system associated with wireless sensor network to control and optimize the use of amount of water in different area of the land, because the pivot standard area is 150 fedan, and this area does not have the same level, the same soil, but could be classified to arid, semi-arid, or wet, and we have to optimize the amount of water delivered from the nozzles of pivot system, and we did this in North. Also, Egypt creates a new delta project with 2 million fedan, and this area will be irrigated by 3 sources of water: the water desalination from the Mediterranean Sea, or water treatment from the wastewater, or from the drilled wells. In the agriculture sector in North, we develop a smart system also for smart agriculture. This system accommodates all the variables of sensor related to agriculture, and this system is well installed and approved, and now it's applied in Salhiyah farms. And as you see in this picture, this system is fully standalone because the smart tool is powered by a battery. This battery has energy storage enough for 10 successful days without sun, and we use a small solar panel with a charge regulator to charge this battery. By means, this system does not need any technical help from the farmer in the field. Also, the health sector has side effect maybe coming from climate change, and we have to identify the potential health risks and as a result of climate change. Also, we have to raise community awareness about the climate change risk and the means of adaptation, and we have to increase the efficiency of health care sector and improve the quality of health service in dealing with climate change. And at last, we have support the Ministry of Health efforts to improve the social and economic status and the population characterization or characteristics. In the tourist sector, of course, this sector also could be affected by climate change. We have to reduce climate change risk in touristic area, and we have to engage users in supporting the proposed strategy, and we have to support periodical monitoring and observation system and the follow-up bodies, and we have to raise environment awareness and cooperate with international bodies, incorporate disaster risks within the planets to promote suitable tourism in Egypt, and we have already to make capacity building. The impact of climate change on tourism could be listed here. Maybe the acidic rains can have side effect on temples or mummies, and also rising temperature will lead to bleaching of coral reefs, which are a natural wealth that tourists flock to, and also the effect of increased heat or archaeological areas, and an increase is supported dust and the humidity will affect the health state of the temples. I think this picture does not need any clarification, because this is the consequence of acidic rains on the tourists. And in ours, of course, we develop a smart system also to measure the air quality and estimate the amount of pollution in the air that could affect these temples, and to make prediction control or prediction maintenance before it reaches this catastrophic damage. Thank you for your hearing.
Thank you very much, Dr. Muhammad, Professor Muhammad Zahran. And now our second speaker is Mr. Dini Abdullah. He is the Secretary General of Ministry of Urban Planning and Environment and Tourist in Djibouti. And he will be talking about coastal ecosystem-based adaptation and mitigation in
How can I
Djibouti.
change?
So the floor is yours, Doctor.
Okay. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum. Before I want to apologize for my bad English, because I come from French-speaking country, so it is very difficult for me to speak in English, but I will try. I want to speak to two things before flood and after about mangrove. The main impact, one of the main impact of climate change in Djibouti is flood. In coastal area, especially cities in coastal area are affected by flood. So why we try to protect these cities by dams. So we built in Tajura city one dam. This dam is made with a gabion wall with a ripe pipe for protection. Length of this dike is 1 kilometer and 700 kilometers. High is 3 meters and the base is 5 meters. This dike protects nearly 60% of the people of Tajura city. Is approximately 10,000 people. So when Djibouti when we affected by flood in October 2019, this dike helped it to protect the population of the city of Tajura during this flood. So it was very effective to protect population about the risks of flood. Now I want to speak with another subject about mangrove. As you know, mangrove is very important for fisheries, and so why we try to plant mangrove in the coastal area. So before we put in place nursery for mangrove, and This restoration activity for mangrove is implemented in near Tajura city. The restorated plants are largely mangrove and some Abyssinia marina. 14,000 plants we are replanted. This project is funded by GCF, but the project is not about the coastal area. The main activities of the project is in rural area. It's about agriculture and water, but a small component is used to protect coastal area city from flood and to replant mangrove. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dini. And I think by this we concluded the speakers. Now we have, as I said before, we have 3 interventions. I will start with Dr. Leah Segart, and she, as I introduced her before, she is the practice manager, environment, natural resources, blue economy, and Middle East for the Middle East and North Africa region from the World Bank. So the floor is yours, Doctor.
Thank you so much, Professor Siad. And it's really a pleasure to be here with you today. And I really wanted to take the opportunity to thank Persica for the invitation. We have been working for more than 20 years very closely with Persica and its member states. So it's really a delight to be here. So first of all, let me tell you that the Red Sea and the Gulf of Aden is particularly close to my heart, not last or least because I also got married in Aden at the shore of the Gulf of Aden. So for me, it's quite close to my heart. So first, I think I also wanted to thank the presenters because I personally learned a lot from all of you on all the activities that are going on in the various Persica member states. And for us at the World Bank and working with many of you very closely it's really the importance of marine and coastal environments because large parts of the population really rely in terms of economic development on the marine and coastal resources of your countries, particularly as was also mentioned by the speakers, may it be on one side on the tourism side, but also on the fisheries side. And particularly the fishing industry is of importance to countries in the Persica region or in Persica member states. And what we have also heard today, climate change impacts particularly on the marine biodiversity and in ecosystems. And I was particularly pleased to learn about the resilience of the corals in the Red Sea, and which is quite a breath of fresh air to me and was very good to hear. But also we see that climate change particularly impacts on marine biodiversity and ecosystems, but particularly also then threatens fisheries' contribution to food security in many countries in the region. And on the other hand, and that's why we work very closely with Persica and also with the member states, given that also fisheries are shared transboundary regional good that can be tapped on one hand in a sustainable manner, on one hand to further improve on food security, but also increase to address the resilience to climate change. But on the other hand also that while the ecosystems, both on the marine and coastal side, are very closely interlinked, there are also countries in the region face a lot of challenges in terms at the local level, may it be on fisheries management, may it be on institutional capacity, but also business environment that may be fragile, but also impacts that are more regional of nature, and that's why it's so important to have a close collaboration amongst the member states of Persica, may it be due to climate change, may it be due to pollution, may it be also in terms of illegal fisheries. And only by jointly addressing regional impacts, it is important to really come to joint solutions. And for that reason, as was mentioned earlier, we have very closely, over 20 years, very closely worked at the national level with many countries in the region, but also through Persica, where we started already 20 years ago on a regional project on the implementation of the strategic action plan in the Persica region, where we built together with Persica a solid platform for the collaboration aimed at improving the coastal and marine environment. That was then followed up by a second phase working on the Red Sea and the Gulf of Aden on a strategic ecosystems management project, where we worked closely on incentive-based ecosystems approach for managing marine and resources, but also establishing an operational environment for managing regional marine protected areas. And just recently, in June of this year, we have approved a new regional program that we are implementing with our partner Persica at a regional level for the management of fish resources along the entire value chain, where we invite, through Persica, member states to exchange experiences, exchange lessons learned, but also further strengthen regional cooperation for the management of marine resources, in particular fisheries. And in addition, where we are implementing activities at the local level, and we're working here with one country has already started joining this platform. So here we are working with Yemen in revitalizing the fishing industry in a sustainable manner along the entire value chain, and in order to improve the fishing industry as an extremely important economic driver and business resource, which also needs to be managed in a sustainable manner. And we hope that many other countries from the Persica member states will join us, both at the regional level as well as at the local level for implementation and depending on the national priorities, because very obviously each Persica member state has different national priorities in order to strengthen the fisheries management. So looking forward, I'm really delighted to continue working with all of you in order to maximize the sustainable development of the region's blue economy, which is really a driver and a critical backbone of the economies of many of the countries. And only by acting together we can create a more resilient, more inclusive, but also a more sustainable society. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Leah. Actually, we would like to express our really thanks and appreciation to the World Bank. The World Bank has been very supportive for Persica. We had very continuous and long-lasting support. We had a project, same project, which we concluded 2 years ago, and it was very successful. It was very beneficial for our region. And now we just started a new project on sustainable fishery. The project, again, is of great importance to our region and to our member states. So we really appreciate your cooperation, your support, and we are very pleased that you joined us in this side event. Thank you very much. Yeah. Okay, now I will give the floor to Dr. Salim is here. Dr. Muhammad Salim, yes. Dr. Muhammad Salim will deliver the statement on behalf of Dr. Ali Abu Sinna. So you are ready, Doctor? Anyway, if you want, you can say a few words. I think he's not coming. Oh, okay. Let me give the floor to Dr. Mahmoud Hanafi, so we allow more time for... No, you come here, please. I will give the floor to Dr. Mahmoud Hanafi, and we will listen to him. After that, we will listen to Dr. Muhammad Salim.
Thank you very much, Professor Ziad. Just in a few minutes, I have some comments regarding my experience working for 35 years on research and management of the living resources of the Red Sea. You know, the first lesson I learned from the dealing in terms of conservation and development in the Red Sea, which is, it will be never come with effective conservation without raising the value of the biodiversity, the economical value of the biodiversity. And I'm sure tourism did this. And we have very, very high valuable of biodiversity as, you know, a touristic products we are selling, you know. Because of this, I think we have effective network of protected areas. We have environmental impact assessment system for all of the projects along the coast of the Red Sea. You know, one of the points which I am proud about, this is the only sea or the only area which we considered as a zero discharge sea. If we know that 80% of the wastewater or sewage producing by human is just at the end reached to the ocean. So I think this is very important point. Second lesson I learned from my experience in the Red Sea, that if the development preceded the effective conservation, will end with some challenges. Will end with, as you see in our major cities like Sharm el-Sheikh, Hurghada, we have very intensive development and very limited and valuable resources. So we have a problem, I call it overuse of biodiversity. Overuse of biodiversity in tourism. We have in some diving sites, a diving rate exceeded 200,000 dive per site per year, and this is very, very high, comparing with the sustainable diving. For this, I think we have a project now to create a new diving site, to sink some wrecks, to reduce the potential of diving on the natural diving site in the area of Hurghada, for example. In addition to this, I think we have, because of this, in terms of overuse of biodiversity, the fisheries. This is one. Red Sea is not, Egyptian Red Sea is not a fishing ground. It's not a valuable fishing ground. This is oligotrophic, very poor, low productivity, and the value even of the live fish is more important and more high than as a catch. So I think we started to reduce the recreational sport fishing or sport fishing by at least 50%, the potential of fishing or the catch by 50%. I hope that we are going to continue this. In terms of, you know, climate change, my colleague Dr. Muhammad Smaidi was talking about this, the climate change and our coral resilience. We have more than 50 publications and the articles talking about that the coral reef of the Egyptian Red Sea could be one of the last, if not the last, it could be one of the last refuge for coral worldwide. And this is now very, very clear. What's this meaning? This is one of the challenges, actually, that we have to pay more attention and more effort for conservation. And it's not a task of Egypt. It's now a task, it's a global task, actually, because this is a humankind, valuable and very productive ecosystem, which many scientists believe that at the end of this century, coral will be disappeared from the earth. According to the scientific facts, we found that even raising of temperature by 1.5, it will not impact our coral. And this is very, very clear. So I call it this, I call this, I call it the Great Fringe Reef of Egypt, like the Great Barrier Reef in Australia, for many reasons. First of all, this could be one of the last coral refuge worldwide, which is human, it's very important for humankind. Secondly, it's very valuable as economical, as a base for the as economical value, not just for Egypt, but even for Europe. It's global, even the economical value of the coral reef in the Red Sea, in Egyptian Red Sea is valuable, globally, even supporting the economy of Europe. I think the role of the civil society in conservation, this is something very, very important. Co-management. I'm working with an NGO, Hurghada Environmental Conservation and Protection and Conservation Association, HIPCA. And we're working very closely with the Ministry of Tourism. We have the largest mooring installation worldwide. We have 14 mooring installations to avoid anchorage of boats, pleasure boats on the reef. And this is very proud. We are working very closely with the community, but based on that, it will be very hard to attract the local community to be part of the conservation process unless they get some benefits through sharing benefits or getting benefit from the conservation process. We worked very closely with the Red Sea protected areas in some villages along the coast, and even with the support of Persica to convert the income of this community from fisheries, from consumption use of biodiversity, to be part of the tourism industry in non-consumption use of biodiversity. And this is, by this way we improve their lifestyle. They are very keen to be part in the conservation process, and at the end we raise their ownership to this, to our resource. Thank you very much, and I think, I don't like, and thank you, Dr. Ziad.
Thank you very much, Dr. Mahmoud. And we always learn from your experience, and we appreciate joining us in this side event. Now I will give the floor to Dr. Muhammad Salim. He is the director of Marine Protected Area in Egypt. And he will talk on behalf of Dr. Ali Abu Sinna, the head of the environment in Egypt. So please, I will give the floor to you.
Thank you. I don't want to repeat what just Dr. Mahmoud said, because he almost covered everything related what's going on along the Red Sea. But I want to stress on the fisheries issue, because now we have very, very big challenge, especially in the north part of the Red Sea, because I think we have to differentiate between the Gulf of Aden and the Red Sea, because just as Dr. Mahmoud said, it's very, very poor in terms of productivity. And because of the development we have now along most of the coastal area of at least the Egyptian Red Sea coast now, I believe we have a big problem with the fish population. Most of the economically and ecologically important fish species almost declined to a critical level. Now we are going to take action to restore this population, but for us it's very, very big challenge to do. But this is why we might need to reassess the fish species population, especially targeted by fishing, local fishermen, and also commercial fishing. Otherwise, we might lose such very, very sensitive habitat because of this, even before we reach the level of we expect from the global warming. This is why, for us, I mean, along the Egyptian Red Sea coast, under the north part of Red Sea coast, we should deal it with this area as a fishing ground, because almost the productivity is almost zero compared with other area. And the impact of fishing activity, I think it should be considered as one of the most danger impacts, might impact the coral reef resources along the Red Sea. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Muhammad Salim, for sharing the experience of the environmental affairs in Egypt with us, and thank you very much for joining us. Now we are still having few minutes, so if anybody has some inquiries, questions, or comments, so I see
Dr. Foda.
Dr.
Foda.
Yeah, Dr. Foda. Again, Dr. Foda is one of our scientists in our region, so let us hear from him.
First of all, I would like to thank Dr. Ziad for sharing this very important meeting, and certainly the analysis that have given us a quite spectrum of what's happening in the Red Sea and even the future as well. Having said that, I kept thinking about one or two issues that I would like just to make it clear. Number one is the issue of nature-based solution. How nature-based solution can be implemented at a time where still many people don't understand what we are talking about. We need to prepare some kind of framework based on the principles of nature-based solution in a way that we could say, yes, indeed, we can implement it in the Red Sea. Otherwise, it will be a kind of talks, whatever. So we have enough information. This is almost the third presentations or side events that I have seen today that they talk about nature conservation and nature-based solution. And tomorrow more will be about nature-based solution in terms of mainstreaming of tourism, investment of in nature-based solution as well. So having said that, I have a question for you, lady. How can we invest in nature-based solution in the Gulf, or shall we say in Persica region, because the issue of financing. At the same time, we need to get something out of this meeting. Can we prepare messages to the president of COP27 and next month in Montreal, where we will have the CBD COP15, what kind of message that we could send them to enhance the whole process of nature-based solution? Otherwise, it will be late. We are in a process of almost more than 10 years now. We keep talking about it. And we have experience, not only in Egypt, but in many other regions, in the Persica region and other regions as well, in the north of Africa as well. So we need to deliver a clear message in a way that they have to include nature-based solution in their decisions. It is not enough to say UN decade for blah, 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 declaration. No, we need very clear decision that can be implemented globally and certainly at regional level. Thank you very much. The other thing which I continue with Mahmoud as well, by the way, most of them, they are my students, you know. The issue of global significance of the Egyptian Red Sea coral reef. It's not only from economic, from environmental, so the future. Because when we talk about nature-based solution, we are talking about actions to protect, sustainably manage resources, ecosystems, whether they are natural or artificial as well. So we deal with man-made ecosystems as well, whether wetlands or whatever, in a way that in the future, these corals will be very, very valuable from economical point of view. Can we have more protection in terms of more artificial reefs that we can sell them to the rest of the world, for example, where many, many places will have coral bleaching? Can we have more protection in a way that we can increase the whole process in a way that we can declare, we hope we can declare, I wouldn't say it, I would like to say it from Muhammad. I would like to Muhammad to just mention it. The Egyptian government plan about the importance of the coral reefs in Egypt.
Actually, we have good news. We are now in process of declaring the entire coral reef habitats along the Egyptian Red Sea coast as a protected area soon. Within days, inshallah, we will have the decree from the Prime Minister to
That's
declare
great.
the entire coral reef habitats from Suez to our boundary with Sudan as a protected, and it will be under the umbrella of the protection law.
That's what we have tried for some time now, and we try to convince the government. They are ready now to declare it. This is a very good news, and this could be used as one of the messages to the president of COP25.
Yeah.
Yes, Mahmoud, who already,
Just,
if you allow me, Dr.
No,
Nada.
I think our reef is already recognized globally because, it's declared already as a hotspot. The Great Fringing Reef of Egypt is declared already as a hotspot with the Ocean Agency and Mission Blue, and there will be an event tomorrow to declare this officially. Yeah.
It will be named the Great Fringing Reef. The Great Fringing Reef. Because we have, I think, the longest well-developed fringing reef in the world, which extend to more than 1,000 kilometers, and there is nothing like this in everywhere in other areas. Yeah. And this is why I think it will be a good step towards protecting the entire Red Sea for the Egypt, for the region, and for the world, inshallah. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Mustafa Fawda. Thank you. Thank you very much again, Professor Mustafa Fawda. Actually, we hear tonight our scientists, which is really, I am very pleased that we have both of them here, and we have a lot of people from different sectors joining us. So now I think we are approaching the end of the time allocated for us. So unfortunately, I don't have time for questions, and it is getting late. So I have to conclude here. So let me thank all of you for coming, although it is very late. So, but you attended. So thank you very much. I appreciate coming and participating. And also, I would thank all our speakers. Dr. Leia, thank you very much for joining us. Dr. Mahmoud Hanafi, Dr. Muhammad Salim, thank you very much. Dr. Abdullah Raddadi, thank you very much. He left. Oh, he's there. Dr. Abdullah, thank you very much. Thank you all for coming and for participating in this important side event. So thank you all, and see you again.